Welcome to r/slash Talesfromtechsupport, where have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? I worked on a technical support help desk for an ISP that did broadband. We used to send these rubbish modems with a single Ethernet socket designed to be connected to a switch. We had a problem customer who kept reporting theirs had died, and we sent out new ones. They were cheap, and we didn't really care about sending new ones out. So the customer's IT guy calls in saying the modem isn't working correctly. It turns out he had connected into the modem using the RJ11 modem cable and thought he could run his business network off it. Trying not to laugh, I told him the hardware doesn't work like this and told him what to buy. The guy thanks me and hangs up, but doesn't hang up correctly, so the call is still connected. I hear him walk away from the phone and say to his boss, "They made a mistake and they're going to fix it." This annoyed me because I was proud of my work. I rang back and asked through reception to talk to his boss. I said, "I just spoke to your employee regarding your network problems. He didn't hang up the phone properly, so I heard his conversation with you. I want to clarify, we have made no mistake. Your employee is trying to use the hardware incorrectly and he lied to you." The guy thanked me for telling him and we ended the call. A few weeks later, their new IT guy called. The old guy had been fired. Our next Reddit post is from Bill Rowe. As I had mentioned before, I work tech support for a medium-sized restaurant chain. My duties included installing new registers, back office computers, fixing whatever broke down in the field and in the home office. Our home office had about 110 employees, each with their own PC. Nothing was standardized. Whatever was on sale at the time is what was installed in the cubicle. This was a logistical nightmare, but made for some interesting and creative solutions. The CEO's secretary was named Madge. She looked and spoke just like Elizabeth Warren. She was kind of stuck up, but usually pleasant. She was completely computer illiterate, except for her publishing software that she used to make little pamphlets and flyers. Needless to say, she was calling me constantly with silly problems, but since she was fairly nice, I always did my best to help her. I had noticed that she had the biggest monitor in the company that she used for her publishing software. It was a 20-inch Sony Trinitron CRT. The thing weighed 75 pounds. This was circa 1996. Since I was a gamer, this monitor was a big deal at the time. Madge called me and said her monitor was flickering. I figured it was a loose VGA cable, so I grabbed a spare and headed to her little closet office. I saw right off the bat that the bottom of her monitor had a pinkish hue and was a little wavy. I opened her computer case, checked to make sure her SVGA graphics card was fully seated, and checked the cables. All was good. Then I noticed that Madge had her Bose clock radio, turned to NPR, butted right up to the front of her monitor. Madge, now agitated and angry that I had spent 10 minutes on this problem, "Enough of this! I want a new monitor! You have the nicest, most expensive monitor in the company, and I just found your problem." "I don't care! Give me a new monitor and throw this hunk of garbage in the trash!" "But..." "No buts! New monitor now!" I was a little taken aback on how quickly Madge had escalated and would not listen when I tried to tell her that her Bose radio speakers were disrupting her CRT, as they were right up against the screen. I wasn't allowed to buy $3,000 monitors, and our department budget definitely wouldn't cover it, so I grabbed up the behemoth Sony CRT and lugged it back to my office. I grabbed a piece of garbage ViewSonic 17-inch new in the box from the supply closet and took it to Madge and plugged it in. This monitor was nowhere near as nice as the one she had, but it was smaller and her Bose radio didn't sit so close to it on the desk. So Madge was happy as a pig in slop, and I gave up arguing with her. I got back to my office, and my boss was sitting there in my chair looking at the 20-inch Sony. He said, "Madge called my office to complain about you." I sighed and said, yeah, she wasn't happy that I wasn't fast enough for her. My boss said, "She's a royal pain in the butt." I asked my boss what I should do with the monitor. He asked what was wrong with it. I told him that it was discolored from a speaker magnet being pressed up against it. He said, "Throw it in the dumpster." So that's how I got a $3,000 monitor for free. I used that thing for another 10 years before the screen turned totally pink and I moved to the new flat screens. Thanks, Madge, you silly old bitch. Our next Reddit post is from Ross Madness. I work in IT for education. This story is from the last district I worked at. I've waited a while to tell it, and I'm not sure if the teacher even teaches there anymore, so here I go to tell the world about it. I was working as the lead technician / junior systems admin. I managed the day-to-day activities of our campus technicians and acted as the next level of support if they needed some extra help. This story comes from a strange phone call to our help desk. The help desk technician walked over to my desk with his headset on and muted. "Hey, I've got teacher on the line. She's having problems with the NAS for their class." This teacher was one of our frequent callers. She taught a class that had a small iMac lab and she wasn't even slightly technically inclined. Her department had purchased a small Buffalo NAS that our students would store their projects on. What's the problem with the NAS? She says that students are changing the names of files to crazy things like "I wanna die." Okay, what does she want us to do? She wants us to remove all student access from the NAS. Have you explained to her that if we do that, her students will not be able to edit their projects? Yes, I have. Okay, just double check for me. He unmutes the headset, relays the information, and confirms that she wants us to remove all student access to the NAS. So I do. I pop over to the user group permission and remove the student group. Not 5 minutes later, help desk walks back over with a confused look on his face. She's back on the line. She wants to know why her students can't edit their projects. I'm dumbfounded. She's given us a lot of headaches in the past, but we can usually work through it. This seemed particularly strange, so I instructed him to forward the call to my desk. Yes, teacher, this is OP. As our help desk explained, when we removed all student access like you requested, that means student can't access any information stored on the NAS. Yes, I understand that, but why can't they access their projects? Because you told us to remove their access. Well, they need to do their projects. Okay. Okay, then I'll restore their access. No, don't do that. They'll start changing things again. What would you like me to do then? Pick out specific folders to give them access to? I can make a new folder called Projects and they can have access to that. No, that won't work. Just give first period access. Ma'am, we don't have any way to see what students are in your class. I would need a list of student names and IDs. Okay, also add third period. Ma'am, again, I don't have access to your class rosters. Please send me an email with the complete list of student names and IDs that you need to have access. Okay. She hangs up, and there's no email. 2 weeks later, help desk walks over to my desk with the teacher on hold. Teacher wants to know why her students can't access the project on their NAS. She says it's been down all week, and she wants to know why. I sigh heavily, down half of my Rockstar, and tell him to transfer the call to my desk. Mrs. Teacher, good afternoon. How can I help you? Why can't my students access their projects on the network? Because you told me to remove their access 2 weeks ago. I did? Yes, you did. Oh, right. Something about names or something. Anyway, can you give first period access? Teacher, like I told you before, I don't have access to your class roster. I need you to send me an email with all the student names and IDs that need access. Okay. Hey, while you're at it, can you add second period? Probably third and fourth periods too. I mute the phone, smack the receiver against my head a few times, and unmute. Ma'am, I cannot do that. I don't have access to your class roster. I need you to send me a complete list of all student names and IDs that need access. Okay, I'll do that. She hangs up and I die slightly inside. 3 hours later, I receive an email from her that reads exactly as follows. Please grant first, second, third, and fourth period access to the projects on the network drive. I go to the NAS permissions, add the entire student group unchanged, so now it's exactly the same as 2 weeks earlier, and hit save. I didn't hear from her about this again. So, I think I have a pretty good idea of why her students were naming their folders things like, "I want to die." Our next Reddit post is from SinDitchPix. There was a young, motivated, and inexperienced computer engineer working at a small company that built inspection machines for a niche market. These inspection machines consisted of Wintel computers along with some specialized hardware for interfacing with the inspection sensors and general control, enclosed in a nice air-conditioned cabinet for all the electrical bits. The software was developed in-house as well and ran on top of Windows. If you've ever worked in manufacturing before, you've probably run across this kind of setup. Now, this company built the computers in-house from off-the-shelf parts. Intel CPUs, Samsung SSDs, Crucial RAM, Supermicro MOBOs, you get the drift. Each developer got an exact copy of the currently shipping hardware and the machine components, so it would be easy to develop and test locally. The hardware was always on the mid to high end, so this worked out well for everyone. There was a sole IT professional that handled the company's IT needs, obviously, and did the purchasing and inventory for the Wintel components. The antagonist of our story, mentioned above, was a fresh college graduate with a degree in computer engineering with a focus on embedded systems. So, when a small project came up for a small embedded peripheral to this peripheral, the CPE volunteered to take it and management approved. This was set in IT's office. There's a knock at the door. IT looks up to see the engineer standing meekishly in the doorway, looking as guilty as a young puppy who peed on the carpet after house training. I need to pull a new motherboard, keyboard, and USB hub from the stock. I'm not sure if I'm going to need more components. The IT professional says, Okay, we have the parts in stock. What's this about? Usually stock pulls are for complete machines. Is there something wrong with the machine on the shop floor? Nothing wrong with the production as far as I know. It's... The engineer is staring at his shoes and moving in a clearly uncomfortable fashion. Something is clearly wrong, and all the evidence points to engineer as the guilty party. Sit down and tell me what happened. I blew up my computer. What? Tears are welling up in the engineer's eyes. I blew up my computer. I didn't mean to. I was working on the new embedded peripheral prototype, and... Go on. I was rearranging the hardware on my desk when I heard this loud pop. I looked up at my monitors and they were all black. I heard all the fans running at 100% and there was smoke pouring out of my keyboard and computer case. I cut power to everything. The embedded peripheral, PC, monitors, everything in my cubicle. I tried bringing my PC back up, but nothing happened when I pressed the power button. I opened the side of the case and there was black charring around the USB ports on the motherboard. So, what happened? I think I put 24 volts on the 5 volt USB rail by accident. How? I left some wires hanging loose off the prototype and must have bumped them. I had a USB adapter that I was using to communicate with the prototype and the loose wires touched something they shouldn't have. The main power supply on the prototype is 24 volts and one of the loose wires was on the 24 volt supply. It touched the 5 volt USB rail on the USB adapter. Am I going to get fired? How much equipment, in dollars, do you think you destroyed? Answer honestly. $500? The engineer grabs a tissue from the box on the IT's desk. $500. Okay, assuming everything company owned in your cubicle got fried, that's probably what, $3,000 worth of equipment, right? The engineer gasps and starts sobbing. Wait, I haven't finished. The engineer looks up in horror. Have you ever brought an embedded control system to market before? The engineer slowly shakes his head no. This was a prototype you were working on? He nods yes. Something went wrong and the magic white smoke came out? He nods yes. Remind me again. What went wrong? I left some power wires loose and they touched the adapter. I see. You left some wires loose, they got bumped, and some electronics got destroyed. Yes. Grab another tissue. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to pull the components to another complete system for you from stock. You're going to go back to your cubicle and rebuild your PC. I know you can handle this since you built your PC on your first day here. You're going to return all the old components to me for proper disposal. Keep the original SSD if it still works. No point in reinstalling the operating system since the replacement hardware is identical and the SSD probably survived. You're going to be back up and running in an hour. The engineer gives a puzzled look. What did you learn? He gives an even more puzzled look. It's not a trick question. What did you learn? Never leave wires flying in the breeze? Bingo. 5, 10, 20 years from now, you will never make this mistake again. The company just spent, at most, $3,000 training you. I don't know what you make salary-wise, but my guess is the equipment you destroyed, worst case, is the equivalent of 5 days of what this company spends on you. It probably cost over $20,000 to hire you, considering the recruiter fees, HR time, interview time, and so on. You did something that cost the company a pittance compared to what it took to hire you. Never mind your salary and benefit cost. You obviously know what you did wrong, and you'll never make this mistake again. If the company fired you over this, they'd be spending another 20 grand minimum to replace you. Stuff happens. It's happened to me, it's happened to you. It happens to everyone. You're young, you're inexperienced. College should teach you how to learn, and you've learned from this. Now take these parts, rebuild your PC, and let me know if you need anything else. Thank you. This isn't the first time I've dealt with the destroyed parts, and this won't be the last. Just don't leave wires loose again. Absolutely! This happened about 5 years ago. I was the engineer, and I'll never forget that lesson. That was r/slash Tales from Tech Support, and if you like this video, then don't forget to subscribe because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.